Let me guess, your biggest fear is that you're going to die. And your biggest pain point is that someone you love dearly has died and they are lost to you and you to them. Allow me a moment to explain using Einstein's theory of relativity why this is not true and you can trust that there is no death. So we know that there are different dimensions and each dimension is defined by a measurement, right? First dimensional measurement is length. Second dimensional measurement is height. And third dimensional measurement is depth or width. Likewise, each one of those dimensions has a set of frequencies or a range of frequencies that correspond with it. So if you are a being that has the frequency of third dimensional measurement or processing or frequency, then you can perceive or process information fully from the third dimension down. 3, 2, 1, depth, height, length. For example, this apple. So because I am a third dimensional being and because you are a third dimensional being, you can look at this apple and it has the 3 measurements. It has length, width, height. Also, I am able as a third dimensional being to manipulate, not only to perceive, but to also manipulate my view of this apple. I can turn it around, I can cut it, I can do things to it that allow me to just see the perspective of second dimension, which is just giving it length and height, or the perspective of the first dimension, which is just giving it length. To a second dimensional being, this apple would just look like a flat disc. To a first dimensional being, this apple would just look like a little dot, right? And to a fourth dimensional being, this apple has a different quality, right? Because fourth dimensional measurement is time. So we know from Einstein's work that the fourth dimensional measurement is time. And in the theory of relativity, it shows that the quicker we are moving in relation to an object, the slower time passes. So essentially, the frequency of you changes your ability to manipulate the passing of time, right? Just as a third dimensional being or a third dimensional frequency allows me to manipulate the 3 dimensions of this apple, me being a fourth dimensional or somebody vibrating at a higher rate or the rate of a fourth dimensional frequency would allow me to manipulate that measurement, which is time, i.e. this is why time travel is possible. Or I should say theoretically possible anyway. But it's essentially the movie Back to the Future, right? The reason why Doc needed the plutonium is because he needed the DeLorean to go a certain speed so that he could time travel. Same thing with the lightning. He didn't have access to the plutonium. He needed the energy from the lightning so that he can have enough momentum to change the frequency so that he can then manipulate time and time travel, because the higher the frequency, the higher you go up in dimension, and each time you go up in dimension or vibration, you are able to then not only observe but to manipulate the measure of that dimension. Okay, so now how does this relate to death? Okay, so most of us understand that we are not a physical body. If you think you are just a physical body, then perhaps this explanation or video is not for you. But if you do understand, and if you've ever seen your loved one in a casket, you can look at them and you just very much know that is a shell. That is not your loved one. They are essentially something else in essence. And so what is that something else and where did it go? So ancient wisdom and quantum physics teaches us that that something else is a frequency of light. It's all energetic, right? It's all light energy. So when it leaves the lower density of the third dimensional form, it then just travels on with this higher dimensional light body. We also understand that there is a spectrum of light, visible light, that is able to be processed with the human eye. It is vibrating at a third dimensional range of frequencies. There are also lights that are vibrating at a higher frequency or a higher dimension, gamma rays, X-rays, so on and so forth, so that they are not able to be processed or perceived with the human eye. So put that information together with the theory that the soul is essentially housed or encased in a light body, and once it leaves the lower frequency of the material body, it is no longer able to be perceived by the human eye like an X-ray or a gamma ray, because it is now vibrating at such a high frequency and therefore in a higher dimension, right? But it's kind of like that apple. We may be able to perceive part of it like an orb or a sparkle or something like that, but we're not able to perceive it in its full vibration any longer. So when our loved one passes, they gain a higher frequency, or they just leave the lower density body, and now their essence is at a higher vibration. But just like us at third dimensional beings, we can perceive everything third dimension down. Third, second, first, each part of that apple. Not only can we perceive everything, but we can manipulate every measurement from whatever dimension we're on and down. So let's just say our relatives, our loved ones, have gone at least into a fourth dimensional frequency. That means that they have gained a level of consciousness or a level of ability to manipulate consciousness, which makes them even more alive than we are. So if we want to call anybody dead, which no one is, it's us, it's not them, right? But just as we can perceive and manipulate and help with and be available to every measurement of the third, second, and first dimension, they can be available to and manipulate and help with every measurement of fourth, third, second, first. That includes every single thing about us. And also, let's say they went to eighth dimension, that's also applicable. Eighth, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But it at least includes everything about us here in the physical dimension. This, for me, explains several things. One is why whenever you talk to a medium, a lot of times the loved ones say, we are right here. We have not gone anywhere. We are still here. They very much are still here. It's just that we don't have the processing mechanisms to fully perceive them. Also, why when people have a near-death experience, they often say that they're able to look at time and manipulate it and go into different time periods in their life or different time periods around history, and that it's all happening at the same time. You often hear, shamans or people into metaphysics will say there is no past, present, and future. It is all happening right now. And it's like, well, how is that? And that's because they have the ability to perceive and manipulate the fourth dimension, which is time, and to understand there is no time. Also, why Jesus's ultimate triumph was mastery over death. It is because he came into a material form where he had to lose essentially some measurements of consciousness in order so that he could train himself to regain that measurement of consciousness, right? He essentially came into death so that he could learn to master death. And when he did what he did, which is to essentially gain full awareness of himself and then be able to manipulate each part of his frequency, he became the master of death. And that is the thing that he is trying to and was trying to teach all of us to do. That was his ultimate thing. It's because this is death, which is really just saying that this is lowered consciousness, right? And so all that to say that your loved ones are more alive than ever. You can speak to them. You can interact with them. Yes, the medium by which you need to interact with them may be a little bit different, but that is where things like channeling come in, and why like raising your frequency, raising your vibration makes those ancestors, those light beings, those people that you want to reconnect with and stay connected with, they desperately want to connect with you, and why raising your frequency will help you to do so. If you ever do listen to mediums, often what they say they have to do in order to make that connection is to raise their frequency. So as they're raising their frequency, the loved one is like lowering their frequency so that that connection can be made. It's a lot of work, but it's very much possible. And understanding that it can be done will really change your life and change your perspective, not only on your own death, but on the death of the people that you love. They're still with you guys. Please, this is just a message to take heart. I've had many loved ones that have died, and understanding this as the truth and then acting as though it is, and being able to connect with and talk to them and receive help from them and receive love from them and give it back to them has really been a life-changing thing for me.